Alright guys, welcome to this vlog. I'm now back from Italy, and before Italy I was focusing on learning Italian so that when I was visiting my partner's family in Italy I could be as fluent or as confident as possible really speaking Italian. However, I made myself the promise that when I'd get back into UK, as I am now, I would start to focus more on Portuguese. However, there's a few updates that I want to talk about during this vlog, and if you're new to this channel, welcome, I'm James, puedo hablar español e anche posso parlare italiano. I help people reach a conversational level in a different language. So Portuguese. Before going to Italy, and during the past week since I've been back, I've had one tutor called Yuri, who's from Portugal, and he's a very good teacher. However, it's European Portuguese that I've been learning. I've been researching the difference between Brazilian Portuguese and European Portuguese, and while there's some similarities, there's a lot of differences too. But I was thinking, there's always a decision when you're going to put a lot of effort into something. You're thinking, is it the right one to learn? Even when it comes to like programming languages or something else, you're like, is it the right one to learn? And you have options as to which one is worth my effort. And up until now, I've been thinking European Portuguese, but now I'm finding it easy to find content online and everything in the Brazilian Portuguese. And I think that from what I understand from my research online and everything, they both can be understood by so like if you speak Brazilian Portuguese, you can understand it in Europe and vice versa. A bit like American English versus like British English, which is mine at the moment. So I can understand what they're saying, but there's a few differences in like words that separate languages, and that I believe is similar in Portuguese. So there's a few things I'm going to cover. First thing is I'm changing my Portuguese teacher to a different person because he's my current teacher, really good teacher, but he's leaving the platform to focus on other stuff basically. So now I've been looking at Preply to find some Brazilian Portuguese teachers. Now, luckily, the good thing about that is that they're cheaper than European Portuguese because maybe the economy is less rich, I guess. So yeah, so it's good in that sense. It's more economical because I'm looking for that. That's what everyone's goal is, really, isn't it? To get the best at the lowest price, essentially. And I want to make this video and this sort of YouTube channel aimed at people where it's more accessible to learn, where you don't have to pay a lot of money to learn a different language. That's the intention. So I'm following that same advice really. But yeah, so there's a few different teachers that I could use, all of which are Brazilian Portuguese. However, I'm so early on in my Portuguese process or journey that I'd have to have a mix of English. So they would have to speak English as well. I will be speaking and trying to get by on the normal Portuguese, but I want a mix so it can be understood. So yeah, that's the main reason. More content in Brazilian Portuguese. It can still be understood by the European Portuguese, and also cheaper teachers, basically less expensive teachers. So yeah, and also as a side note of this, I am also tempted. I'm always going to be tempted to learn a different language as well. I'll see something, or I'll watch a TV show, or I'll hear someone speak Italian, and I'll be like, oh, I want to keep on practicing Italian. But then if I'm if I'm going from A to B to C and I'm changing my mind every few weeks or days, then I'm not going to be consistent. So I need to discipline myself essentially to focus on Portuguese, and if I have time extra, then I'll say do an odd Italian lesson here and there. But that's my intention really. Going to try and focus on Portuguese as much as possible to at least get a basic, maybe an A2 B1 level of Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese. That's what I'm thinking now. I'm in no rush. There's no time limit for me. It's just a continuous process. Anyway, I've talked enough now. That's the main update for today. And you will see now recordings of my Portuguese lessons to date. And then afterwards, you'll see me chatting in the car about my thoughts. Also, obviously, me focusing on Portuguese on the Memrise app. I'm now going to stop practicing Italian and just focus on Portuguese because I can do more in the time that I have every day on Memrise. But that is the app that I use, the app of choice, because it's more relevant to informal everyday conversations, and you can pick the conversation topic. So while I'm talking now, I'll show you an example of what I've been doing on the Memrise app. So I've been selecting the Brazilian Portuguese, I've been changing it from the European one to Brazilian one. And I've been going through different sections and thinking, okay, numbers, that's cool. Introducing yourself and different topics like that. It's quite well laid out now because Memrise have updated their app, I've noticed. And it's more like more street smart, I guess, where it's more useful in like general everyday conversation. And then there's a review section where anything I've done like over the past few days, if it's been 1 day, 3 days, if it's like spaced out a certain amount of time, it pops up to say, oh, by the way, James, review this word or this phrase. So that's really useful. And also you can see, I think it uses AI video, to play an example of a native speaker saying that phrase to you, which is quite cool. So you can hear how it's pronounced. The pronunciation is a bit different, I've noticed, from the European Portuguese, but that's what I'm going to be hammering on now. So I think I've got a couple of days streak so far. I'm going to try and that's another motivation, similar to Duolingo where you have a streak. That's what I'm going to keep doing. So you can see my progress so far, and it's just a case of doing little exercises, picking the right word when you can hear a sound, and typing how it's spelt, sort of thing. So it helps with your listening, reading, writing, I guess, as well. Right, I've just finished work, and it's about quarter to six now, on a weekday, on Thursday. And yeah, I'm pretty knackered. I've done a full day of work. I'm currently listening to apart from doing this video, I'm listening to a podcast in Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese. It's just a talk show podcast, which isn't. I want it to be more aligned with my interests, so I still need to dig around for more content that I can listen to. But for now, I'm passively listening to it in the background, so I'm not like listening carefully to every single word. But it's just there, just so I can get an idea of the rhythm and sound of it. So yeah, but no, tonight I have, and I really can't be bothered with it. I have a half an hour Portuguese lesson. However, I'm going to force myself to do it. If it was an hour, I'd be like, it's a lot of mentality, a lot of mental effort. I'd be very tempted to cancel it if it's an hour. But as it's only half an hour, that should go past quite quickly. But yeah, now today I'm not really. There's a lot of days which you're not motivated to learn language, but you sort of have it on in the background. And I have a habit now where I get into my car, have my phone on, and then I go into a podcast and it's Portuguese. So whether or not I want to listen to it, or if I'm tired or whatever, I still try and have it on. And then tonight, I've got this on Preply, a half an hour trial video call with a native Portuguese Brazilian person, a native teacher basically.
Sim.
Entendi, mas que legal então, você quer aprender português porque o som do português é bonito, né? Quando as pessoas falam.
Sì, sì. Come
Verdade.
italiano, também
Sim, sim.
italiano, sì.
Sim, verdade, eu concordo com você, eu concordo. Eu também gosto de línguas, agora eu
Ah,
tô
sì?
aprendendo francês
Ah,
e eu comecei a aprender italiano, mas parei, dei uma
sì.
pausa, depois eu
Ah,
vou
sì,
voltar, mas eu também gosto,
sì.
depois eu vou aprender russo, enfim, também tenho vontade de aprender algumas línguas.
Ah. Wow, okay.
É.
Spagnolo, parlas spagnolo, também?
Dois Yo entiendo mucho, pero no hablo.
Sì. Ah,
Aham,
difficile, sì, sì, sì.
é.
Ah.
E, James, quantos anos você tem?
Sì, io tenho 31, 32
31? 32?
32, sì, 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 2
32 anos.
annos, sì, sì, sì. E
Legal.
você?
Eu tenho 22.
Ah, ok, ok, 10 anos between us.
De diferença, né? Sim, 10 anos de
Sì, sì.
diferença, é.
Oh,
E,
muito bem.
James, me conta, o que você faz para viver? Qual o seu trabalho?
Sì, sì, per me trabalho, sono, sto un product manager in inglese, non so
Aham.
in portoghese, sì, trabalho con software e sì,
Ah,
la
você trabalha
tecnologia.
com software? Você é programador?
Trabalho con la gente, con la
Ah, com
gente
as
que,
pessoas,
sì,
você é o gerente das pessoas,
sì,
gerente, manager, que
esattamente,
trabalha com as
esattamente.
pessoas que trabalham com programação, né?
Sì, sì, sì,
Entendi,
esatto.
legal, legal, legal. Muito legal. James, deixa eu te fazer uma pergunta.
Sì,
Eu faço aulas personalizadas, certo?
ok,
Personalized
sì,
class, dynamic
sì,
class. So if you don't mind, I'm just taking notes, okay, about you. And
sì,
James, se você não se importa, eu estou apenas tomando notas e eu gostaria de
Sim.
fazer uma pergunta. No que você prefere focar? Em conversação, gramática, leitura? Eu pergunto isso
Ah,
porque o meu estilo de ensino é day-to-day
sim.
português, ou seja, no
Sim,
começo eu ensinava de vários jeitos, mas agora que muitos estudantes
sim,
estão me procurando, eu estou focando mais em conversação. Então eu estou sendo honesto, I'm honest, I'm being honest, ok? Be
sim.
honest with you. Estou sendo honesto com você de te dizer que no momento eu tenho focado mais em conversação. Então eu quero saber
Exato.
qual é o seu
Sim.
objetivo.
Ah, sim, meu objetivo, então, é conversar muito, muito bem com sim, sim, muito bem. Não, não faz niente, não passa nada, não preocupas, Spanish,
Preocupar?
italiano, yeah, não
Tá.
preocupar da gramática, mas só que é uma parte, sim, a conversação é muito importante para mim, sim, para mim.
Então, olha só, deixa eu te contar como eu tenho feito ultimamente com meus alunos e você pode
Sim.
refletir se é o que você quer
Ah.
ou não, ok? If you want, I can speak in English, okay? But are you understanding in Portuguese?
A mix. If you can start with Portuguese, I'll try and guess what you're saying because I'm getting like 70% of what you're saying. If you
Okay.
just speak slowly and clearly, but then if I don't get something, I'll say, "Oh, can you say that again in English?" So that's perfect.
Ok, ok. Ok, so I will continue em português.
Super.
Eu fico conversando com meus alunos, então eu faço
Sim.
muita pergunta a você para você falar mesmo o quanto você
Ah,
quiser.
sim.
Durante a aula, during the class, eu vou te
Sim.
corrigindo as palavras erradas. No
Sim.
final, the end of the class, no
At the
final
end.
da
Yep.
aula, eu passo um exercício para você memorizar, fixar.
Sim, sim,
Eu
sim.
tenho feito assim.
Palavras. Sim.
Claro que eu posso trazer tópicos específicos, bring specific topic, and if you want, you
Sim.
can also bring specific topic for the class. But
Sim. Eu posso.
we usually often talk about random things, you know. For example, hey, como foi seu final de semana? Entendeu? Your
How was your
weekend.
weekend? Yeah.
How was
How was your
your
weekend?
weekend?
Okay.
Yes, yes, sure. E aí
Sim.
você vai aprender a soar como brasileiro, porque I will
Sim.
teach you the correct word, how to pronounce and how to write, but I will
Ah,
also
sim.
teach you how Brazilians say. Because, for example, here,
Ah,
I
sim.
will write down. Okay,
Oh, super. In the
check
chat.
the chat, please. Okay, Português is the correct way, but a lot of
Yeah.
Brazilians say Português with the letter I in the middle of the word.
Mm,
Yeah, or for
right.
example, rice. We say arroz. The correct is arroz. But
Arroz.
we say arroz, like this.
Oh, with an
Arroz.
I in it. Ahoy,
Yes,
arroz.
yes.
Okay.
With the letter I, yeah. Just in the
Ah,
south of Brazil, they say arroz, but in the rest of Brazil, they say arroz. So I
yeah.
will teach you the correct way and the way that most part of people
Super.
speak because most part of my students want to sound more Brazilian. You know, of course,
Right.
you wanna
Yeah.
you wanna probably you wanna sound like a native, né?
Yeah. With the accent getting closer to that. But yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. And I guess, like, in context, if I'm saying something in Portuguese and one word is slightly a different accent, it doesn't matter too much because you still understand the gist of it. But it's nice to be close, isn't it, to the right accent? No, that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree, I agree.
It's all
Oh
good.
no, my English is rust, but I hope you can understand.
It's good, it's good. Muito
Okay,
bem.
I will.
Falas bem inglês, inglês. Falas muito bem inglês.
Obrigado. James, of course, it's a Portuguese class, so Portuguese class. So I will force you to speak just in Portuguese, and I will speak
Super.
just in Portuguese. Of course,
Cool.
sometimes I will speak in English just to explain to you some hard idea or hard concept. So,
Yeah,
but this is the trial lesson, so it's the why
cool.
that I'm speaking in English. But next
Yeah,
class, of course, I will speak in Portuguese, and
sounds
I'm
good.
glad because you're listening. It's really good.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Obrigado.
Você tem amigos brasileiros?
No, mas tenho amigos, no pasado,
Ah, eu
de,
tive,
de,
eu
de,
tive.
eu tive, sim, eu tive amigos do Portugal, Portugal,
Ah, de Porto.
sim,
Aham.
sim, de, what was I did, okay, facture, so what's to do, the verb, in Portuguese. Falar, not speak. Okay. What I did in the
Contar?
past.
I did?
Contar?
Eu fiz. I did?
Fazer, and fiz.
Yes.
See.
Aham, eu fiz.
See.
I
Okay,
did.
okay. Fiz me Erasmus anno. Onte, not Spanish. 11 years ago. How would I say
Ah,
11 years ago?
11 anos atrás.
Ai, 11 años atrás fiz
Aham.
mi Erasmus year en España, en España, durante ese tiempo
Aham.
conosci, that's
Uhum.
borderline Italian, that
Conheci.
is.
Conheci.
Conheci, there we go. Conheci
Aham.
am, amigos de Portugal,
De
Portugal.
Portugal.
Sim,
Aham.
sim, sim. So, yeah.
Isso, que
No, no,
legal,
no
que
Brazil.
legal.
Sim.
Ok, ok, James. I think
Super.
what are could you speak in Portuguese this? Quais são os seus hobbies, os seus interesses, os seus
Oh,
passatempos?
what's my interests, hobbies, pastimes? Sí.
Uhum.
Eu gosto falar línguas diferentes como español y italiano y ahora un poco de portugués. También gosto viajar o viajar todo el mundo. eh, y también la música electrónica. Sí, y eso.
Ah, quais países você já conheceu?
Ah, ovviamente Brasil e Sudamerica, onde falano español in
Uhum.
México y también portugués no Brasil. Y sí.
Que legal, que legal. Então, eu também, até hoje eu nunca
Ah,
viajei para fora,
sí.
mas eu tenho muita
Ah.
vontade de conhecer vários países.
Alright guys, how's it going? Another gym session done. It's now Saturday morning and I've just finished my gym workout. I could not be bothered going this morning. It was, very, I had to push myself. But I like to relate the gym to language learning in the sense that if you literally can't be bothered and you still try not to think about it too much. I think there's a, I think it's a 5-second rule or something in psychology, especially in a book called The Chimp Paradox, where, and don't quote me on the time period of 5 seconds, but you have to do an action before you have time to think, before your emotional mind kicks in, basically, or the chimp, as it's called. So if you, so basically I was like, should I go to the gym? I was debating it, but I thought, right, let's grab my keys, my wallet, let's head out the door and towards my car before I can persuade myself not to. And in the same sense, I'm trying to use that for language learning. Like if I'm like, right, should I open my Memrise app now? Yep, let's do it. And I open it before, I might get distracted, someone might distract me, I might have a notification, but as long as I can open it and do an exercise on it, that's the action I need to take to start the momentum of keeping going. That's what I'm trying to do. So yeah, so I really quick gym session today, like 20 minutes or something, but it's better than nothing. I didn't push myself, I just went there because it's just repetition really, isn't it, over time, consistency. But yeah, sometimes it's hard and I have to I feel it's important to point that out, that even when it's hard, if you can push yourself, if you're ill, that's different. But there's a fine line between obviously not being bothered to do it, like not wanting to, and being unable to because of your physical fitness or your mentality or something like that. So yeah, but it's tricky. But I'm on my way back now from the gym, listening to a Portuguese podcast, still hammering Portuguese. So I'm doing the podcast, also the Memrise app, and also Preply lessons. So yeah.